Bitcoin transactions. Now let's learn about Bitcoin transactions through the concept of UTXO. UTXO stands for Unspent Transaction Output. Unspent transaction output is the fundamental building block of Bitcoin. Conceptually, Bitcoin transactions are very similar to a cashier's check. However, Bitcoin is also unique because transactions can be conducted using fractions of the cryptocurrency. For example, let's consider the case where Ross wants to send 0.15 Bitcoin to Joey. However, Ross's wallet consists of a total of 3.21 Bitcoin distributed in 3 bytes valued at zero point 0.2 Bitcoins, zero point 0.1 Bitcoins, and 3 Bitcoins. Thus, Ross destroys the byte containing the 0.2 Bitcoins in order to send 0.1 Bitcoin to Joey. The remaining 0.05 Bitcoins creates a new output and is available in Ross's wallet as another byte, thereby reducing his balance to 3.05 Bitcoins. Bitcoin transaction structure. Now let's take a look at a Bitcoin transaction structure. A Bitcoin transaction has 3 pieces of information. First piece of information is called an input. This is a record of which Bitcoin address was used to send the Bitcoins to the receiver in the first place. It is also defined as the unspent transaction output. These Bitcoins have been received by the user in the past and have not been spent, thus the term unspent transaction output. The second piece of information is the amount. This is the amount of Bitcoins that the sender sends to the receiver. This is a new transaction that the sender is initiating where he uses the receiver's public key and his own private key to hash the transaction and send the same. The last piece of information is the output. This is sent to the sender's address as change. The balance amount is sent back to the receiver, and it becomes the new unspent transaction output for his wallet. Bitcoin transactions and input-output. Now, let's take a look at Bitcoin transactions and input-output. Transaction structure in Bitcoin reflects double-entry bookkeeping. Bitcoin transactions can be represented in the form of series of inputs and outputs. Below, we can see a scenario where Ross receives 100 Bitcoins. He sends 40 Bitcoins to Rachel and 60 Bitcoins to Joey. So Ross's transaction has 1 input and 2 outputs. Now from 40 Bitcoins, Rachel sends 30 Bitcoins to Mark, and this process continues throughout the Bitcoin blockchain. Examples of a Bitcoin transaction. In order to view a transaction, you can go to the website blockchain.com. On that website, select Bitcoin Explorer from the data field and click on any one of the transactions. This would give a detailed view of that transaction. On the screen, you can see the sender's address and the receiver's address along with the amount of Bitcoin transacted. You can also see some other information like the size of the transaction, the timestamp, and the transaction fee.